The new Hitman title will not be the full game, but a sizable chunk according to IO Interactive. Post where you stand in the comments below, but first, my opinion. I'm Tarmack and this is Feature Creep. IO Interactive posted a news item on the Hitman 2015 website stating very clearly and upfront that the game that will be released on December 8th is not the full game. Throughout 2016, they said more locations and missions will be released until the story is done, and they followed that up by saying, quote, all of that content is included in the $60 price. They didn't specify just how much of the game is a sizable chunk, though. IO clarified that this does not mean that the game is an early access title, stating that every piece of content available on December 8th will be complete and polished, as well as all future content. The interesting thing about this announcement is that this Hitman game has a bit of an odd history. Originally back in 2012, it was supposed to be developed by a new Square Enix Montreal studio. The decision was made by Square Enix to adjust focus and have IO Interactive develop the title instead, but not before gutting the studio through cutbacks and layoffs. Apparently, all other projects at IO were cancelled so that the studio could focus on Hitman exclusively. So in essence, what appears to have happened is that IO Interactive doesn't have the budget nor staff to give gamers a complete experience on launch day. Let me be clear, however, that in my view there is no valid excuse for this kind of behavior. What gamers are being given by the Square Enix subsidiary is an incomplete product with a promise that it will be complete sometime next year, without any assurances or guarantees of such. Selling me something and then saying, don't worry, we'll totes finish it later, is not something that gives me confidence in the product, especially if it's not a success. Remember that it was Square Enix that felt 3.4 million copies of Tomb Raider was not successful. Here are some of the major problems that I have with what I hope doesn't become a trend. For starters, by electing to release the game piecemeal, it's an oddly timed avoidance of the Steam refund policy. I doubt very much the decision was made because of the refund policy, but I will not be surprised if we see the first DLC pack arrive just a few weeks after everyone's refund window expires. By promising additional free content, whether it arrives earlier or later, they play on the human condition a bit, which will reduce refunds because maybe the next episode will be better. Make no mistake, this method will reduce refunds on Steam. Further to that, this is following the Telltale model of episodic content. Rather than choosing to buy the full pack at a discount or elect to buy the episodes one at a time, in this case, you have to pony up the full retail $60 as the only way to get the game. They did say that in the $60 price tag, there are no microtransactions or paid DLC involved. I hope that they stick to that mantra because I suspect the gamers will flip their collective lids if even optional paid DLC releases before the game is finished. And finally, I think this sets a very, very poor precedent. When you buy a primarily single-player game, getting an incomplete product is simply no fun. I want to be able to finish the game on my schedule, not theirs, and in this instance, I won't be able to do that. Slippery slope be damned, this is just another way of subsidizing development so that Square Enix doesn't have to pony up as much of the front-loaded risk. It's in the same vein as AAA Kickstarter, pre-order bonuses, and early access, all ways of getting customers to give their hard-earned money before they have a legitimate product in hand. All in all, I'm not impressed. Square has historically shown themselves to have unrealistic expectations. IO Interactive has already been hit with layoffs and low budgets. If Hitman doesn't do well enough, do you really expect to get all of those story arc DLC additions that should have been in the main game? I don't like the idea of buying video game futures myself. Am I overreacting in this case? Drop me a line down below. That's all I have to say. Tarmack out.